Before I get to the slides, I also want to thank Garfield County and Colorado Mesa University for putting this on. Most of you know it's the third consecutive year. As Commissioner Sampson mentioned yesterday, it has grown at a very, very rapid rate. I just think this is a great opportunity for collaboration and sharing of information. Local governments are one of our primary customers or stakeholders. This is a great opportunity for us to connect with you. So I appreciate those sponsoring entities putting this together. I noticed, I think, in my memory, more counties represented and local governments represented from the east side of the state at this one than in past ones. So I think, again, that's just terrific that folks from Douglas County, Elbert County, and so forth are making the trip up. And it's a very good opportunity for me to connect with the likes of Pitkin County and so forth. I'm going to start off by going off script, just get the hazard part out of the way. From my perspective, if we can be given the opportunity to work with a local government, we can figure things out. We can find solutions. Right? We can work together to address local government concerns, your citizens' concerns, your specific concerns. You heard a couple of, I think, very good examples of that yesterday from Kyle Fenner and from Brighton, from Holly Prather, examples where they were willing to engage with the state and we came to a solution. Those solutions, to me, that are forged in that collaborative way are going to be the strongest, most enduring solutions. So give us that opportunity, okay? The task force, I think, over several months and many meetings had the opportunity to hear from a lot of local governments, of course, and they made a decision, I think very consciously. There was no recommendation to change the fundamental regulatory structure that we have that is a shared regulatory structure with local governments and the state. After hearing a lot of testimony from a lot of people, the fundamental structure was left in place, and I think that's significant. The local government designee program and the local government liaison program are key, core vehicles for sharing information and growing that relationship. So first I want to introduce you to the two COGCC LGLs who are here. Mark Morton is on the West Slope. He has primary responsibility for the West Slope. I know many of you know him. And Nancy Prince is primarily responsible for the Eastern Slope. So those two folks are available to all of you local government representatives really anytime, 24/7. And then the flip side of that is the local government designee program. And I guess I'm gonna have to say something nice about Kirby Wynn. Kirby is sort of the quintessential local government designee. And in significant part, that's because that's his only job, right? The Garfield County has made a decision that that position is important enough that they have a dedicated LGD. Not very many other counties do that, all right? And I'm not saying that everybody has to. Believe me, I get the realities. I loved Miss Wright, I think it was, yesterday, who said, I'm an academic and I know my world's a little different than your world, right? You have to have money and people to put these great ideas into action. I understand that not all local governments have all the money in the world to say we're going to have a dedicated LGD. But the way that program works, more or less, is you get out of it what you put into it. Okay? If you have an engaged LGD, I promise you our relationship will flourish. Weld County recently, Troy Swain is now a dedicated, I think I've got this right, you're the guy in Weld County. That's a big county, that's a lot of wells, you got a lot of responsibility. But, so dedicate as much as you can to that resource. It will help all of our relationships. Director King yesterday mentioned MOUs. The memorandums of understanding or memorandums of agreement, we actually prefer to call them operator agreements, but we can't get anybody else to follow our lead, so we'll just keep calling them MOUs. But those are the, the agreements between local governments and operators that allow you, again, to address specific local concerns without going into the regulation regime and kind of potentially bumping up against that conflict between the state regs and your regs. We think that's a great mechanism, a great vehicle. We fully support that. We have worked directly with many of the local governments to put those MOUs, those operator agreements in place. We will help you understand, again, to Dr. Walk's point, we'll help you understand what we have jurisdiction over, and that if we have jurisdiction over it and your operator will say, here's my application for a permit, I have agreed that I will not have any pits, make that a condition of my permit, it's a condition of your permit, then we can enforce it. All right, but if your operator agrees not to go faster than 15 miles an hour on the lease roads, I can't enforce that because I have no radar guns. I have no authority over traffic, right? So that won't be part of the permit. But anything that I have jurisdiction over, I can put in that permit and make it an enforceable condition. So from our point of view, a very important and very effective tool. All right, and I think with that, I'm going to turn to the slides. I will warn you, I'm going to come out here and be a little less formal too. I think for those of you that were here yesterday, you're going to probably have a little bit of like deja vu all over again feeling. Some of these things were covered yesterday in one way or another, either by Mike King or some of the other speakers, but probably won't kill anybody to hear it twice, and some of you weren't here, so let me see what we can do here. I want to talk a little bit about oil and gas production. I am very happy to tell you that we have a new COGCC website. It's only taken my full 2.5 years to get this done, but it's a start. You've heard a lot about the Governor's Task Force. I won't spend too much time there. I'll cover those last couple of points relatively quickly. So let's talk about production first. Brian talked about this a little bit yesterday. 2003 to 2010, if you look at those numbers, we went from 21 million barrels of oil produced in the state to 32, so about a 50% increase over 8 years, roughly clicking along at about a 6% annual year-over-year increase. Okay? Take a look at what happened in the next 3 years. 2011 to 2013, we doubled production from where we were 3 years earlier, and those year-over-year increases jump into double figures and grow year over year. All right. Our production reporting lags a little bit. So 2014, we haven't exactly called finished, done, very, very close. Here's a little sneak preview. Okay. I'm glad to hear the oohs and ahs. Unbelievable. 44% year over year, 1 year, from 65 million barrels to 94 million barrels. I think everybody in this room knows why that is, what we attribute that to. Okay? I know. Brad, Longmont, one guess? No, right. Horizontal drilling, hydraulic fracturing. Okay? Not underbalanced drilling. Anyway, you saw some of these figures sort of nationally yesterday, but Colorado is right in there. Very, very, very significant increases in production over the last few years. So I do want to, again, show you some pictures that kind of brings home the point. 2009 to 2014, these are all well starts in the state, and it's running about 2,000 a year. There was a high year in 2011 there, a little over 3,000, but more or less 2,000 new wells per year. In 2009, now you can see a little skinny line there at the bottom, and I'll actually tell you how many horizontal wells that represents. In 2009, there were 32 horizontal wells started in the state. So 32 out of that roughly 2,000 were horizontal. It grows. In 2010, 130, 285, 642. We're now up from 1.5% of all wells being horizontal to 28% of all wells being horizontal. 2013, 1,100 horizontal wells drilled. That's 60% of all the wells in the state. And in 2014, 1,421, 67%. All right. So you see in 5 or so years, a really remarkably rapid transformation of the wells being drilled from all vertical to 2/3 horizontal. And there's the oil production curve laid up on top of that. Okay. So I'm not a mathematician. I'm not a pediatrician. I'm just an English major. But I think it's fairly clear what's driving production. All right, enough about that. Let's talk about our new home. I probably shouldn't admit this, but when I took this position 2.5 years ago, I had a list of my 90-day goals, and a new website was on my 90-day list. So it's taken me 30 months. But we do have a new website that is going to go live for everybody at about 5 p.m. today. So sometime tonight and certainly tomorrow, when you go to the cogcc.state.co.us, you will see something very different from what you have seen in the past. Design and curb appeal, space and better sustainability, yes and yes. Really, the changes are intended to make our website easier for the average person to use. The website is a phenomenal resource as it is, but it's not easy to use. It takes time, but if you invest the time and learn to use it, you can get just about anything out of that. A lot of the slides you saw yesterday, you saw screenshots from our website, the data. We're talking about production this morning. The production data is on here, but it's not very intuitive. It's not very easy to use. So this change is intended to make it easier, again, for the average person to use, to find their way around, to find what they're looking for. So there's our new homepage. You know, it looks kind of like a homepage. In fact, it looks not too different than DOLA's homepage. So, you know, it has a familiar look to it with the menus and such across the top, and some links and so forth on the right. I guess that's the right-hand side. Down at the bottom, I do want to tell you that got cut off in this screenshot. There is, believe it or not, a suggestion box. Okay? I want people to use that suggestion box. Kind of my last point here is we're trying to figure out how to better serve our customers, right? How do we listen? Holly Prather talked about listening yesterday. It's easy to blast out what I think and what I want and all that good stuff. That's not where we want to be. We want to hear how we can serve you better. That means local governments, it means the industry, it means citizens, it means NGOs. So, I mean, the suggestion box seems so old-fashioned, but I hope that it can be put to good use. We have undertaken recently, really starting in about January of this year, an effort to make it much easier for citizens to file a complaint. And they can do this all now online with this single page on the new website. There's a link to this on the home page. Click on the button, file your complaint here. There's frequently asked questions. Really will walk somebody through the process. So we hope that is an easier way for people to do that. And then we will track more carefully how long it takes us to respond to that and resolve that complaint. We are also undertaking an effort, in at least part driven by the governor's task force recommendations, to offer assistance, guidance to operators on compliance. So we have published in the last several weeks, well, maybe a few months, several guidance documents. If I can. A little bit hard to read there, but you know, how to fill out our Form 42, what are our requirements for well logging, what are GWA wellbore spacing unit requirements, how do you complete your mechanical integrity test and when must you do so. All of that now available on the website. We continue to work through this process of drafting these guidance documents, meeting with operators to go through those documents, changing them as we need to. But there was a Governor's Task Force recommendation to ensure that there's good guidance to operators on compliance, and we will continue to work through that over the next few months and continue to update and publish these documents and have those available on the website as well. Hearing schedules, we hold hearings about every 5 weeks. On this link, you can not only find the schedule to that, you can link to all the documents and all of the matters that will be heard. You can find out everything you want to find out about those hearings. And then I do want to say that the database and the other tools, the GIS map, are going to continue to work exactly as they have in the past. Okay, that functionality of those things has not changed. That is something we will work towards updating that functionality in the future. But for those of you, a lot of you work with this data stuff a lot. That's still going to work the same. We are, and also in response to kind of public input, we will now put together what we call data packages of certain sets of information that we know the public is very interested in, and push those out in a way that they can be downloaded. And then when you download it, you have it electronically, you can sort it and manage it the way you want to manage it. And we'll link those data packages to this page too. So for example, you can see how many complaints were filed, or how many NOAVs were issued, or how many mechanical integrity tests were performed and who performed them. So that would be an area for suggestion to us, feedback. We'd like to see monthly reports on X that we can download and have access to. That would be great feedback for us, and we'll make that happen. So this is the link for like the rest of today. This is the sort of beta test site. After this, it will be COGCC at state.co.us. But if you want to get on it like right now, there's your chance. Again, I'm not going to dwell on the task force. We've heard a little bit about it in the last couple of days. This recommendation 17 to me was the core recommendation coming out that relates to COGCC, and it really relates to local government. All right, this is really meant to give local governments the opportunity to participate in our permitting process earlier when we are dealing with large oil and gas facilities in the urban mitigation area. So the first thing we're going to have to do is define what a large oil and gas facility is. We do not have a definition for that right now. And during the task force, we sort of talked about two different things. We talked about a large number of wells, and we talked about the production facilities that have to support a large number of wells. And candidly, the scale of oil and gas operations is changing. It is changing with horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracturing, because a single horizontal well produces so much more than a single vertical well, and so you need infrastructure to support that. So Chris Castilian mentioned yesterday scale, intensity, and proximity. And those were actually my words to the task force in testimony that I gave. Said those are the factors that are changing, and those are the factors that as a commission, as state and local governments, we may need to address in this new era of horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracturing. So the first task really under this recommendation is what is a large facility? Is that driven by the number of wells, or is it driven by the size of the production tanks, some of each, so forth? Okay. And I think that there will be this process. That's what we have to design, a process that allows local governments to participate in primarily, I would say, siting decisions when we're dealing with large facilities in urban mitigation areas. As Mike mentioned yesterday, if at the end of the day we cannot all agree, then the decision will be made at the state level. The other part of this is that we will have additional mitigation measures that we will talk about if, in fact, one of these large facilities is going to be located in an urban mitigation area in some proximity to residents. What are we going to do in addition to our currently robust regime? What are we going to do to mitigate those impacts? That's not really what I wanted to happen. There we go. So I wanted to show you this slide as a pretty good illustration of, scale, proximity, and intensity. Is there a pointer, Kirby?
There is just the red thing in the middle.
There it is. All right, I'm going to go over here. So this is a proposed location on the Front Range with 28 wells proposed. 28 wells, all to be drilled from a 40-acre parcel right there. These wells are 2 miles long underground, 2-mile lateral, and they're going about a mile, what we call the kick out there, the distance from the pad, a mile this way before they turn and run through for producing formation. It's 28 wells. To support the 28 wells, the application that was submitted to us had 49 oil tanks and 9 water tanks. So more than 50 tanks that they proposed to locate there. Okay, we haven't defined large. I'm pretty sure this qualifies. Okay, just about by anybody's measure, that would be a large facility. It's not real clear, but all the nice little orange lines up there and down here, those are subdivisions. Those are homes. Pretty new, built in the last 5 years or so, maybe less. But both sides, new subdivisions next to that 40-acre parcel with a proposal for 28 wells and 50-plus tanks. We said to this operator, and we were engaged with the local government and the surface owner to the east where there's no development yet. Let's go back and rethink this, okay? Let's see if we can come up with a better solution here. So those permits are now, right now, the status of those permits is on hold. And I want to say that the operator has worked very diligently in their efforts to find a plan B, or might be C or D or E or F by now, but they are trying hard to figure this out. And the truth is that even when it came to us, they had been working pretty hard to figure it out. But I just, again, probably the quintessential sort of example of what we will be working on in this task force rulemaking. 25 asked us to enhance this local government liaison and local government designee program. And I've already told you how important I think that is. Probably the only thing I'll add to this is that the recommendation asks us to look at the mineral assistant grants as a possible source of funding to help certain local governments that would like to do more with their local government designee program but are not sure where the money's going to come from. So there's, that is to be explored. The compliance program I've already talked about. I'm not going to spend any more time here. We're trying. We'll continue to try. There's the compliance documents that we already have are the ones in blue. We have guidances for all of those, and then stormwater and floodplains. The new rules that went into effect recently on floodplains. We'll put compliance documents out for that here shortly. Hydraulic fracturing rules, BLM, Mike King yesterday, for those of you that were here, made it very clear that the administration, DNR, COGCC, are going to work with BLM to attempt to get a variance, a statewide variance from their rules so that operators only have to comply with COGCC rules to meet the BLM rules. We know right now there's not 100% overlap. There are going to be some areas where we don't know. Honestly, we don't know how exactly it's going to work out. Are you going to have to comply with smaller parts of BLM and then COGCC covers the rest? We are meeting with BLM tomorrow with the state director, Ms. Welch, tomorrow to start, well, it's not, to continue that conversation. We're pretty optimistic. We know that BLM modeled many of their rules on COGCC rules. So if the standard is our rules are as protective or stringent as their rules, it seems like they must be if they used our rules to begin with. So we hope that we can work out an arrangement with them that is satisfactory. The state attorney general made an independent decision to join the lawsuit that Wyoming filed against BLM on those rules, and we'll see how that plays out too. So again, I'm here the rest of the day. I'll hang out a little bit afterwards. I'm as sincere as I could be when I say to you, I want nothing more than you to tell me how we can do our job better. Right? We are committed to that. We have a great staff that is growing. We'll be 112 or something like that when we get these next 14 hired. A lot of very well educated, highly trained professionals, and you just tell us how we can do it better and we'll get on it. Thanks a lot.